the crown hides a lot.
That's what I will say.
That's what a crown is there for, bitch.
Hiding your ratty ass wig.
Your ratty ass wig.
That is a big trick I always have for wigs. Cover the hairline with something pretty.
Put a crown on it.
Put a crown on it.
I remember when my mom got me that the framed picture, which I still have, that says, every time you feel down, adjust your crown and remember where you came from. I think that means that my mom's the queen and I'm the princess.
Technically, it works because you're from Queens.
Oh my God, we're queens from Queens.
Double entendre.
Yeah, but I think it's a little bit different than that. But I've got a small crown. Why aren't I wearing crowns more often? You know, I didn't wear one for the wedding. Did you wear a crown for the wedding?
Nah.
And I feel like that's the only time as adults we're allowed to wear crowns, and I think that's bullshit.
I wear them all the time.
Why aren't I wearing crowns more?
Let's no bring reason.
Let's bring fashion into real life.
It's already happening, baby. Already happening.
Adjust your crown.
Adjust it, hopefully in a more comfortable position, because they're very heavy. And they get uncomfortable.
Heavy hangs the head that wears the crown.
The other one, that's right. Of course. Silly me.
I can't not say it. Sorry, maybe I'm just starting to get all because I know who we're gonna meet.
Oh yeah, you're giddy.
Episode. I feel like dumb right now. I am crotch dumb and brain fun.
That's what you always want to be when you meet men. Because we are today meeting
Bat Boys.
Bat Boys.
And they are just as broody as the Batman himself.
Well, specifically one of them, which we'll get into.
Yeah, he's a bit of a shadow singer. I hear the word shadow. Don't look at me, Natalie. You're not allowed to look at me the second the Bat Boys enter. Thank you.
I mean, it's going to get a lot more awkward. This is a book where it gets really awkward.
This is when it starts to get turned.
So we are meeting some new friends today, more than just the Bat Boys, in fact. When we last left Feyre, she had decided that she couldn't stand being alone after being rescued from the spring court. After agreeing to Rhysand's terms, he has winnowed her to a warm, inviting house wrapped in the sounds of a city.
Goosh, goosh, goosh.
You turned on by the city?
I'm not good. I am turned on by the city because speaking of crowns, I was making a flower crown the other day on my Twitch. We were making flower crowns because that's my name. B taught me how to make
Why
a flower
aren't you
crown.
wearing them to this
I
show?
actually literally forgot to bring it, and I'm very mad because it was going to match my outfit right now.
That's a bummer.
And I forgot why I was talking about this. The city. Because I was like looking at a picture of like what the House of Wind would look like. And that was my inspiration. Like Valeris in general was like my inspiration for my flower crown.
Sure.
And I was turned on by the city itself.
Ah, okay. I thought you meant more like the New York sounds because that's just a lot of like,
Anthony, come down the stairs, Anthony!
Your son hasn't seen you in days! Which, always gets me in the mood.
Oh, woo!
So, this is slightly different kind of city.
Oh, yeah. More seductive, honestly.
It is. And it seems like a city wrapped in seduction. So, he's either really setting her up for some sort of big trick, or it's like, this seems really nice. Is he gonna put me in like a cage or something? Or is he really just trying to live a nice life and be nice to a woman? That's always the question, isn't it?
I love living in fear, don't you?
It's cool.
Are you trying to be nice to me right now? Are you trying to be nice?
It keeps it spicy.
Yeah.
He informs Feyre that Nuala and Sarajwin are also here. As you remember, the two wraiths who are his spies / handmaidens.
Yeah.
But otherwise, it's just Rhys and Feyre in the house. Gulp.
Gulp indeed.
Getting hot in here. Before the question... No, I did this. This is my fault.
You think that's not going to be the last time I sing that song?
No, I don't think that's the last time you'll be singing that song. Before questions start coming out from Feyre, we hear Hurry up, you lazy ass.
A deep male voice drawled from the antechamber beyond. Exhaustion drugged me so heavily that I didn't particularly care that there were wings peeking over their two shadowy forms.
That's being very tired if you're not questioning the wings.
Bad boys.
There are, in fact, a few voices just out of frame here. 2 males first, and their presences seem to amuse Rhys, as though Rhys has a ghost of a smile, like he's lightened somehow by their presence. After he's let Feyre know that she is, in fact, safe here in this home and in this city, Valaris. A city, he goes on to say, that has not been breached in 5,000 years. He goes on to say that the 2 fellows at the door are bastards, and she would be wise to go upstairs and rest before she has to meet them. But this isn't some sort of dark warning that she would have gotten under the mountain.
No, it's cute and light. Like, they're a couple of bastards. Why don't you go get some rest? And, but we just need to meet them.
Well, Rhys sounds like he's almost playing, like a playful voice. And the exterior voices are calm. They're even merry, which is something that she can't even process right now because of all the
She's
traumas.
Going through a lot, yeah.
And since she's still reeling, she
decided that perhaps the spring court might not be my home.
Whoa, that's quite a statement to make.
Oh.
Then another voice, a female's, is audible.
I should be just as excited to meet Moore, who is one of my favorite
we've
characters.
met Moore.
Oh, yes, we have met Moore. That's right, because she took her out.
This is the other.
Okay, all right. So I'm allowed to have my loins circling the Bat Boys right now.
Oh, sure. I mean, I do love me some Amryn. So from outside of frame, I'm saying frame like it's a movie, a voice filled with, quote, icy cold midnight is heard. But still there is no terror running through her or the others in the house. It's still friendly. As she's making her way to a bedroom with Nuala and Sarajwin, we hear the continuation of this familial group of people who are chatting and remain downstairs while...
As you said, making our way downtown, walking past, faces past, I'm in Valaris.
Don't do this to Valaris.
Come on. It does need a soundtrack. That's not what she sounds like.
Who is that?
I think it's Vanessa Carlton.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Now we need to know. Very important for us to find out.
No, not I would walk 500 miles.
Just to see you smile.
Yeah, into the sky. It is Vanessa Carlton.
We can all rest easy.
We don't. This is what happens. You know, you get caught up on a Vanessa Carlton lyric and you can't drop it.
No, you got to get through the intrusive thought.
It is an intrusive thought, yes. It's not, I'm going to cut my hands off today, but it is Vanessa Carlton.
Can't we do both? So Feyre has gone upstairs to a bedroom, and we hear the voices of this familial-sounding group downstairs. The house being described in the book reminds me of a beautiful brownstone in Manhattan. It also kind of reminds me of Center City, Philadelphia, which I love. And I say Philly because Maas and her husband live right outside of Philly, so I don't know if that had any inspiration.
Sounds like we're Philly bound. We're not going to be creeps.
I love Philly.
Sarah, you could just be our friend. We'll just drop in and then maybe we'll get lunch.
Philly's probably my favorite East Coast city. I love it there. And also their old houses are really pretty. So there. Again, this is what I would consider house porn.
Dude, have you looked up any of just like, if you're looking up, I'm sure you have fan art of Valaris and of House of Wind and just like looking through how comfortable it must be.
Yeah. But also sensual.
Oh,
always
yes.
sensual.
Always sensual.
So yeah, it's house porn with this perfect room overlooking a garden where Feyre is going to crawl into a massive squishy bed. The contrast it was interesting to me how she described the room compared to those of the spring court. Might be notable when she's talking about these rooms. They're warm and soft and inviting, comfortable. And I might be wrong, but I don't remember her saying that about any of the rooms in the spring court. More so that they were grand and like intimidating.
Yes, and that she didn't feel comfortable. Like you can tell the sense that she never felt comfortable at the spring court. And I mean, and you would think like, well, she was brought there under really traumatic circumstances. Well, she was also brought here under fairly traumatic circumstances. Yeah. And she's like, wow. And she actually sleeps here, which also changes your entire brain of how you think about a place. If you're going somewhere where you know you're not going to get any sleep, then you're just like, well, I may as well cut off my hands.
No, not back to that thought.
Intrusive thoughts popping in.
So I think that's true. It really also, you go back in retrospect and think about it in that way, because I didn't pick up on that when we don't know she's going to the night court, but you go, she never really felt like cozy or like peaceful in that house at any point. And so as she's being prepped for bed by the two handmaidens, she barely has the energy to muster curiosity, but is intrigued enough to ask who all those people downstairs were. Saradwin replies, "Their reasons, inner circle."
Can you imagine someone getting you ready for bed? I'd be like, don't worry about it. I barely wash my face. I'm just going to take my clothes off. I'm good. You don't need to prepare me like I'm a stew, you know? You don't need to like pre-crisp me.
What if they just helped you get ready the way you would, where they just like half take your makeup off and then like face you face down on the bed with your legs off? You're like, thank you.
Thank you. Just still makeup smeared on my face. How often I don't get all the makeup off.
Anytime I wash my face, still mascara. I'm sure it's going to blind me eventually. Yeah. I never get all of it off. I wash my face 4 times and it still comes off with black. It's fine, I'm sure.
I know, but that's the thing. They're like, well, stop using waterproof mascara. And I'm like, bitch, I cry too much to not wear waterproof mascara.
Got to. That's your burden to bear.
Thank you.
So this
Suizan's inner circle.
It is.
Sorry, I juked.
You do. The inner circle discussion only further confuses Feyre, as she doesn't imagine a High Lord to have such a casual collection of confidants. This leads her to another question. How? How is the city here and safe after the reign of Amarantha? Saradwin and Nuella kind of look a little hesitant to talk about it, and they basically say it's not their story to tell and she needs to wait for Rhys to divulge that. After asking the Wraiths to not close the curtains and leave her in darkness because it is scary, she collapses into an exhausted sleep. When she awakens hours later, she's dressed in fashions by the twins that for some reason make me think of the 1930s. It's like knee-length coat, brown pants, cream sweater, suede shoes.
Oh, but it's just so comfy, like a big cabin hang.
Yeah, I can't pull off a cream sweater, but
oh, not me. I'm covered in cream. I'm Jackie covered in cream Zebrowski.
Inside and out.
Yeah.
I didn't mean that cream.
I'm sorry.
But I guess that also counts.
Oh, you meant like I'm berries and cream.
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
I was rude.
No, you took it to
crass.
her place. So she gets dressed in this, really, she probably looks very like beautiful and stoic in this outfit. Yeah. And she meets Rhys downstairs. And as Reason sees her for this first time in this outfit, that probably is more like a Valera style outfit, he says, "Those two certainly like to fuss,"
Reason said, though something about it was strained as we headed out the front door.
It's interesting. He sees her and feels some form of emotion seeing her in these clothes. He leads her out, and we get our first glimpse of Valaris. By its description, I immediately think of Italy for some reason. I don't know what she was going for with it, but I think it's like the cobblestone streets and the being on the water. I know Italy is not all on the water, but I've only ever seen the parts that are on the water, so I just think of it that way. And you get this idea of it being bustling and vibrant. There's people walking around and feeling discomfortable and not fearful, which is something she hasn't experienced in Prythian yet. They're contented almost. Interestingly, we get a wider scope of how the others look in the city, and it's very similar to a modern city where people have very drastically different looks, individualistic and artsy.
I need to be looking more into the streetwear of Valaris.
Oh,
I bet that's sick, dude.
Yeah. Fuck yeah.
I just want to go there. It's really difficult to reread these books. I just want to live there. Is that sad?
We're doing a whole podcast about it.
I know. I'm so glad that we're talking about it more. Take me there.
We look it up.
Streetwear Valaris. Let's see if there's anything on Streetwear Valaris. No, it's just Feyre merch.
It's just lady sweaters.
Yeah, boring.
Yeah, it needs to become part of the zeitgeist enough that like streetwear companies are making like edgy Valaris.
We're working on it, and if you are listening right now and you make streetwear, hit us up. Let's talk.
Please.
Let's figure out some fashion for the Fae bays.
Here's some description of it.
Fae in various forms of dress meandered by, some in coats like mine to ward against the crisp air, some wearing mortal fashions with layers and poofy skirts and lace, some in riding leathers, all unhurried as they breathed in the salt and lemon verbena breeze that even winter couldn't chase away. See, in my head, it's definitely more like K-pop meets Valaris. Like that's what I want in my streetwear. I want it more like seductive colors, but pop.
Yeah, totally. I agree. I think there's like a little bit of like Harajuku kind of style in there mixed in. But also, I mean, there's some steampunk, but we're just going to like rein it in on the steampunk a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yes.
We aren't going to use like the cogs and stuff, but I like some of the steampunk.
We can have a cog or two.
Fine.
Just a couple of cog on a top hat. I could put a cog on a top hat.
You're right. I'm wrong. The homes are made of marble with copper roofs. There's a river weaving through the thoroughfare that empties out to the sea that she can see over the side there. Across the city on the northern border are vast red stone mountains, and Rhys tells her that his other home is at the top of the highest peak. This is not the same mountain range as the Moonstone Palace. We're in a whole nother mountain town, baby. Yes, because normally there will be now a map behind me, but I didn't get time enough to hang it before we recorded this episode, and so you just have to imagine it.
Dreams of this map, you know? I feel like, I don't know if the map exists, Natalie.
You just saw it on the way into the studio.
I see nothing.
She's lying.
Cut
it's there.
My hands.
Don't do it. So we're on a whole. So basically, the Moonstone Palace is on the east coast, and the Red Mountains, where his other home is on the west with Valaris. This place, which we will soon see at the top of the mountain, is called the House of Wind. Feyre is stunned, perplexed, flummoxed even. She asks again, how? Rezond. We can say Rezond now. I'm going to try to say if I'm saying the full name, I'm going to say Rezond because now I've been told that after the first audiobook, she changes it to Rezond, which is what everybody wants it to be. So, but most still say Rhys. Rezond replies simply, luck. Instead of feeling delight in, excitement that these people got to escape all of it, Feyre is angry. Why did these people get to escape the wrath of Amarantha when so many suffered and died? Why do these people of Valaris get to be spared from that fate? And, in that moment, that might sound a little selfish, but it's understandable.
Well, I mean, I think that she thinks about all of the people that she herself had to literally single-handedly save by going through the traumas that she went through. So I'm gonna assume that it's her trauma speaking here.
Sure,
of why she's so upset.
She just had to murder a boy, so I guess that
looked in her eyes and pleaded for her not to.
Yeah,
that's effed, bro.
So I guess it makes sense where she's like, oh, congrats to these people, I guess. And Rhys seems to understand this. He says that he was only able to keep his people safe because Valaris is a secret. not just from Amarantha, but anyone outside of the Night Court.
So this is like a really big deal that he brings her here.
It kind of is like, I don't know. Is it saying something?
Is it
about
like a trust thing? I don't know. But also, is it sexy? Yes.
What if he's just doing it because he knows he's going to kill her?
That would be suckface.
It would be.
And not in a good way.
So due to ancient magic, 5,000 years ago, his ancestors decided to close the borders of the city and create wards and spells that keep people from finding it or remembering it if they become compromised in some way, which seems like a lot of work. It is a respite amidst a sea of discord. But this don't oppress a her much. I thought you were going to chime right in.
No, I was taken aback by something else, and then I just got brought back in by that don't oppress her a much. He didn't say it the way she sings it. That don't impress her much.
What were you going to say?
Nothing.
Okay, good. Great. Why didn't he save others when Amarantha struck? She's not impressed with it. Why didn't he? Why didn't he help the others? Why didn't he let people into Valaris? And Rhys says that he had to make some very hard choices in those moments. And I refer back to that time under the mountain. He did have to make very hard choices then too. Some that make some of the readers hate him and side with Tamlin. But what's right is often really difficult. And some people may see inaction as a more, it's a pureness. My hands are clean. I didn't do anything. I didn't have to do all of these, make these choices, which is like that sort of hippie activism, not all hippies, but like the kind where they're just like, I'm a pacifist, man. I'm just going to dance around, but I'm not going to do any of the hurting, but everybody else is going to have to take care of everything for me. Isn't that fun?
But they're not fighting the fight.
They're not. Not like the old punk rockers do. Yeah, I'm starting a fight. I'm starting a battle between punks and hippies right now.
No, Rhys essentially like puts himself in to take all of it so that his people don't have to.
And he had to do difficult things like put Feyre in a really humiliating, difficult, painful place in order to save her from being torture porn to death. So those are the tough choices. And this is another one where he had to save these people. He had to let other people die because he couldn't save everyone. She's not satisfied with his
heavy
answer.
Heads that heads with crowns.
That was like the AI version of trying to say that sentence.
Sometimes you just gotta open up your mouth and see what flops out, you know?
That's the key to podcasting and comedy. She's not satisfied with his answers, but she also is sort of resigned to this. She's just upset still. She's upset.
Yeah, dude.
But she allows him to lead her through the center of the city, and it is a thriving area of arts and culture. It's divided into 4 quadrants: Palace of Thread and Jewels, Palace of Bone and Salt, Palace of Hoof and Leaf, and the last one, trigger warning for painting. It's called the Rainbow of Valaris.
Oh.
The dancers, the actors, I'm assuming sketch comedians are there, whatever their version of Murder Fist is.
Oh my God. I would love to see Valaris Murder Fist. What if I wrote a Murder Fist and Valaris sketch? Do you think that they would do it?
I please, you have to make them do that. Make them do it. For the love of God.
Yes.
For the love of the cauldron. Yes, it is called the Rainbow of Valaris, which is where all of the performing arts are. And the painting arts. So
yeah, it's the Bushwick of Valaris.
It is the Bushwick, but like, it's better than Bushwick.
Whoa.
The trust fund kids haven't taken over.
Yeah, that's true.
Valaris
Yeah,
yet.
it was Bushwick from when we lived there 20 years ago.
Yeah.
No, it hasn't been that long.
No, it hasn't. It hasn't been 20 years yet.
Sitting here middle-aged with elf ears on.
Rhys is 500. He's like 700 years old.
Yeah.
Don't give this to me. I don't give a shit.
Yeah,
okay?
he looks great.
He looks great. I'm going to dress like this when I'm 80 so everybody can go fuck themselves.
Yeah, Natalie.
We also see through Feyre's eyes that there are a bevy of different kind of fae inside of Valaris.
High fae and various lesser fairies I'd never encountered and didn't know the names of wandered the streets. It was the latter that I noticed more than the others. Some long-limbed, hairless, and glowing, as if an inner moon dwelled beneath their night-dark skin. Some covered in opalescent scales that shifted color with each graceful step of their clawed, webbed feet. Some elegant, wild puzzles of horns and hooves and striped fur. Some were bundled in heavy overcoats, scarves, and mittens. Others strode about in nothing but their scales and fur and talons and didn't seem to think twice about it. Neither did anyone else. All of them, however, were preoccupied with taking in the sights, some shopping, some splattered with clay and dust and paint. Oh my God, she loves paint.
She is triggered. These all failed to move Feyre. All she can think about is how dead she feels inside. She's being a real Emily the Strange. The Fae hopping about, oblivious to the terror that she and many others just went through, is perhaps alienating her further in her mind, like she feels dirty and dark and broken, and can relate. I'm tired, she says. Rhys agrees to take her back to the townhouse, and as she gazes at all of these innocents, her heart is filled with rage and resentment. Rhys picks up on it through the bond.
The bond.
Easy,
Rhys murmured. I whipped my head to him, my breathing a bit jagged. His face had again become unreadable.
My people are blameless.
That easily, my rage vanished, as if it had slipped a rung of the ladder it had been steadily climbing inside me and splattered on the pale stone street.
So he has, whether or not it's through some magic of his, he has the ability to sort of soothe her in a way. And she knows he's right. She's like, doesn't actually want to hurt them, but she's just doesn't know what to do with her feelings.
Yeah, dude.
She can't feel happy for them, at least yet. I did try to look into any interview Sarah J. Maas may have said where she was basing Valaris on, but I couldn't find any mention of it. But if anybody knows if she said it in an interview, hit us up on socials.
Please.
And thank you all for sending all of your messages and thoughtful.
Thank you so much. And just like your support and just really, really appreciate you guys.
Yeah. As they return to the house, we learn the names of those disembodied voices from earlier, and they are Cassian, Azriel, and Amren. His inner circle. His inner circle, along with more. We also find out here that Amren, the woman whose voice sounds like midnight, is his second in command. He says that she's older than the city itself and that something different prowls beneath her skin.
You know what it is with Amren? I think that I am so, I so respect her character and fear her character that I can't see her in a sexual way the way I see Moore and Cassian and Azriel.
I do enjoy. I don't want to say anything yet because we're not at that part, but I do enjoy her romantic.
Yes, escapades.
Yes.
Oh yes, no. I'm definitely on the sidelines, going like, "Go Amren, you get it, girl, you get it." But I think if I did say that to her, she would like turn me into dust.
Probably,
maybe,
perhaps. So, the two women of his circle are his second and third, and that's right, two women. This is the lesbian feminist agenda that Hillary Clinton wants for Valaris. So he goes Rhys, then it goes Amren, then Morgan. I hope you're all happy.
I'm happy.
Good, me too. We'll learn more about Cass and Az soon. As they have this exchange, Feyre has a thought of unaliving herself, and Rhys reacts with passion. In that moment, she accidentally flashes into his head and gets a glimpse of herself. She's sort of taken aback at seeing herself through someone else's eyes. She's gaunt, colorless. She's painfully thin and looks exhausted from grief. It really makes you again realize how little Tamlin was able to face her pain.
Well, he couldn't do any. Like he literally, I keep saying literally. Now it's in my brain and I just keep feeling it in my mouth. He literally
cut his hands off.
Cut it. No, he didn't. No, I think that he's just actually emotionally incapable of communicating and connecting with her in that way to help her move through it.
Yeah.
But even this, when Rhys, like, he replies with a passion that, you know, that he wants to connect with her in many ways.
And won't allow her to just have that bypassing thought, and lets her know that that's not what she deserves, basically. And in that, even though Tamlin, I think, wasn't doing it intentionally, he was willing to let her waste away instead of deal with it or try to figure out how to deal with it.
Yeah.
For a moment, Feyre thinks Rhys has done this to her, gotten into his head as some form of cruel punishment or example, but Rhys is actually taken aback that she somehow has gotten through his mental shields. He's the most powerful lord in Prythian, and no one should be able to penetrate his mind so easily.
Oh.
He muses on whether it's because of the bargain inked on her left arm. She doesn't seem to give a fuck, but he persists in telling her, you need to understand how dangerous this power is that we both now hold. The person who holds this kind of ability in Prythian is called a Demati. I looked for any etymology of the word, but I didn't find like direct connections. But if you have ever read his Dark Materials, which is my favorite YA series.
So good. Man, I would totally do a deep dive into his Dark Materials.
Oh, I don't know if anyone will allow us to do it, but.
Why?
I would absolutely. I love that series.
I'm starting the change.org now.
Good. That's what he'll respond to. In that series, they have almost like a little soul outside of the body called a demon or a daemon.
Oh my God, and it manifests as a little animal.
Yeah, I know. I get very jealous about that.
I know. Maybe Wendy is your daemon.
She's not really helpful.
Oh, she's very helpful.
She's comforting.
I know, because I cried in front of her not that long ago, and she literally just put her paw up on me and just like looked at me, and I pet her, and then she just like licked my hand and licked my hand, and I stopped crying.
She's very good at that. Yes.
That's what Feyre needs. Get a dog.
Get a dog. Get a companion animal. Emotional support dog. Also, in Greek mythology, the same DAE has connections to divination and knowledge. So this sort of works here. Demati, you can kind of see in somebody else's brain. This information about being a Demati only serves to anger her more. So she has this power, and she is supposed to help destroy Hybern and be the forefront of this war. And his people get to go about and paint. They get to paint.
But she loves to paint.
But she's supposed to help fight in this war. You don't feel a sense that Feyre is filled with blind hatred and disgust for these people, or even Rhysand, but sort of at her wit's end right now. Like, why does she have to keep doing this? Later that night, Rhys wants to take Feyre up to the House of Wind to have dinner with his inner circle. Beyond that, he wants her to take this time to decide whether or not she wants to help him in the upcoming war. He will not force anything on her. It is her choice. But he wants her to decide after she meets the others. However, there's a slight problem. To get to the House of Wind, you can't just walk through the door, or even winnow in due to the wards protecting it. You either have to fly in or take the 10,000-step staircase at the foot of the mountain to the top, which means that in order for Feyre to get up there, she's going to have to let Rhys fly her in, which she is not feeling. In her haste to be respectful of those high fae, she's just chosen to wear a gown, like a fancy dinner gown, midnight blue long-sleeve gown with a plunging V.
I winced at the swath of night between the roof and the mountain residence.
The wind will rip my gown right off.
His grin became feline.
And then she gets all mad, and I'm like, girl, you knew what you were doing by saying that. Like, what did you think the response was going to be? She was fey flirty right there.
Gown right off.
She's like, oh, how dare you? And he gives a feline grin at her. I'm like, you know what you were doing.
I love that they describe Rhys as so cat-like all the time, which I think is interesting because technically Tamlin is the beast, but they more and like is a lion of sorts, and yet they never referred to him as feline in any way, shape, or form, just as more of like a brutish animal. But Rhys they always describe as very like cat-like.
Yeah, I think maybe it's sort of weaving a feminine and masculine together,
yes,
which is what sensuality often is.
Yes,
and Tamlin's kind of more of a like a himbo-ish kind of like a rugged guy.
Yeah,
not that's bad. It's not bad. It's just
bit of a
different.
Jacob. Yeah,
he is a bit of a Jacob. She feigns not wanting to be picked up by him. I'm just gonna say it, okay? She's like, I don't want you.
You better not. No. Like she may as well have sounded like that.
Yeah. So he scoops her closer using his wing. He promises her that he'll keep her safe and he won't even mess up her hair. If she wants to leave, if she doesn't want to work with him in his confidants, he'll give her a life somewhere in Valaris. She can go paint if she fucking wants to paint. He scoops her up.
Isn't that awesome too? I feel like that is like something that she doesn't even really let sink in of like, he's saying that like you can live here in this peaceful place forever. Or you can help us. And so either way, you never have to go back to Springcourt.
Yeah, totally. So he scoops her up. And the second she relents to him and says, okay, just don't drop me, he zips through the air and up to the House of Wind, overlooking the sparkling city. Whoosh! I guess this is where like, flop, 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 flop. That sounded more like fap.
Yeah, it does.
That's not what I meant. Not what I meant.
Whoa, not yet. Yeah. I'm becoming a newsie.
I know,
you want a pape?
I think it's because we're in Valaris now. It feels like that's what would fit in there.
Yeah, I'm the queen of New York.
As they're flying up to the House of Wind, they're having a conversation, and we learn that Rhys's mother was an Illyrian, and thus the one who had the wings in his lineage. We don't know much about her at this point, but he seems to think of her tenderly. Rhys lands them on the balcony of the House of Wind, and as Feyre is looking out over the city and the sea, Rhys asks her to tell him a thought in exchange for a thought. When she doesn't answer, he says that he's thinking that through the 50 years he spent under the mountain, he never thought he'd see the city again. He then ponders on how if a war comes, he may have to wait a long time until he enjoys another peaceful night staring out over the balcony at this place he loves so dearly.
Maybe it was some shred of courage or recklessness, or I was so high above everything that no one save Rhys and the wind could hear. But I said,
I'm thinking that I must have been a fool in love to allow myself to be shown so little of the Springcourt. I'm thinking that there's a great deal of that territory I was never allowed to see or hear about, and maybe I would have lived in ignorance forever like some pet. I'm thinking.
The words became choked. I shook my head as if I could clear the remaining ones away, but I still spoke them.
I'm thinking that I was a lonely, hopeless person. And I might have fallen in love with the first thing that showed me a hint of kindness and safety. And I'm thinking, maybe he knew that, maybe not actively, but he wanted to be that person for someone. And maybe that worked for who I was before. And maybe it doesn't work for what I am now. Whoa, trauma dump.
Whoa. But, I mean, I imagine, in his arms, flying through the air, that all of these feelings are coming up. They have to be, right? It's like, get him a rug. Magic carpet.
I see. Okay, that was confusing for a second.
No, it was. Yeah, no, it didn't make a lot of sense.
He can show her the world.
Yeah, he can show her the world.
Okay. Before she can explore this anymore, this thought she just had, series she just had, we're greeted by two grinning hunks of meat. They're winged, and they are wearing the dark, scaly armor that we become familiar with, Illyrian fighting leathers. They are the voices we heard when Feyre first entered Rhys's townhouse, and they are again informally greeting the two of them, even being a bit ostentatious and flirty.
What?
We're immediately informed by Feyre's thoughts that these two flying flirty fays are smoking. Cassian is described in a way that immediately makes me think of Khal Drogo from Game of Thrones, but with the personality of IRL Jason Momoa.
Yes.
So like the
big old himbo. Oh, yeah. He is the himbo of the himbos.
Yeah. He's scruffy and rugged. His hair is shoulder length. He's sort of goofy and he's fucking jacked.
And he's got these huge wings.
And we are a lot about wingspan moving forward.
Hi, Cassian. Hi.
As the leader of Rhys's army, I suppose he needs to be pretty jacked. Azriel, Rhys's spy master, is more of a Brandon Lee's The Crow meets Bruce Wayne, in my opinion.
He's the broody boy.
Yes. He's pretty but moody. He's tortured. Haunted by the ghosts of his past.
Oh, let me fix you. Oh, I want to fix you.
He's Gerard Way with muscles and a haircut. That's how I see him. Further distinguishing his goth persona are his terrible burn scars on both forearms. Something so gruesome that even magic couldn't fix them. Around him swirl shadows that seem somewhat sentient, like they do Azriel's bidding. The trio of Bat Boys consider themselves brothers, though only in name. They all have very different backstories, which we'll learn over time.
Yes, we will.
This is all even more disarming to Feyre, as these consorts of Rhys's are not cold and formal, but loving. Very early into the introduction, Feyre wonders aloud how Cassian's managed not to get himself killed with his needling and badgering, and he laughs openly and heartily. She's wary, but also manages to fit in so far with this motley crew.
I would feel like, in the same way that, like, every time I would watch one of, like, the Murderfist boys bring someone around that, like, if she wasn't down to be fun and silly immediately, that, like, I would immediately judge Feyre in this situation. Be like, have a smile. I know, yeah, you just killed all these people. And, like, blah, 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 you're just kept as a captive. But can't we have a laugh? Look at my big muscles.
Look at them. I'm so
just
silly.
Touch them.
Yeah, but I'm being silly.
Maybe they're just, like, a little damp. We don't know why they're damp. I'll dry them off.
So
we're not even in a horny part.
I know, it's gonna get so much. Soon more enters in fashions, I should say. A red chiffon flowing gown with gold cuffs.
Yes.
And we get the impression that Azriel is pretty immediately horned up for her.
I would be too. I'm also horned up for more.
Oh, yeah. Another perfect goth boy trait, pining over a blonde girl.
Yeah.
Feyre observes...
But what about me? The thick one in the corner. She's watching you kiss her. Oh!
No, as we see over and over again in media, the dark broody boy likes the very yuppie blonde
The fun one, yeah.
Although Moore's not a yuppie. She's awesome.
No, she's amazing. She's a badass.
She is. So Feyre observes Azriel sort of longing after Morgan, that as she's observing this, Azriel's shadows seem to alert him, like almost like they're whispering that Feyre's watching him. And this is a good way to establish that he indeed is always listening and always watching and is aided by his shadow wisps.
Which is badass and also terrifying at the same time.
Yes. So finally we're greeted by Amren. Feyre has a cardinal instinct to run away from this teeny tiny high fae with silvery eyes and is reminded of the fact that Rhys has said that something different lives under her skin. I enjoy Amren's face-aesthetic,
yeah.
Yep. Which is all shades of gray, like she's in a black and white movie and she also is covered in pearls of different like blacks and grays, which is, I think it's just a fun look. As though, perhaps her alien eyes only like those colors, like a reverse color blindness or something. Yeah. Through all this, Feyre is getting her bearings in this beautiful mountaintop meeting place. And they are also just as analytical of her, even if they're trying to hide it. During this time, Amren observes Feyre, sniffing her, and says, "So there are two of us now." What she means is that both her and Feyre were remade in some way, like RoboCop.
Just like RoboCop.
What Amren is, we don't know just yet. As the group sits down to dinner, Feyre observes that this feels much more like a family dinner than a government meeting. Like Rhys has just brought a friend home from college and the family's trying to figure out this new weirdo.
Oh, like Son-in-Law with Pauly Shore.
Just like it.
Steven Tyler PJs. Steven Tyler PJs.
You can tell by this series that we are both ruined by television.
Oh, yes. Oh, no, thoroughly. I was raised by television, and I've never tried to pretend like that wasn't the case.
Yep. Just gotta own it. As they sit, Amren muses on how there is actually a third remade person. It's not just Amren and Feyre. It's Miriam. Miriam, if you'll recall, was Jurian's lover during the Great War. We don't know Miriam's full story yet, but we do know that she was first Jurian's lover, a human, and then met Drakon, a Fey prince, and then fell in love with him.
Also remember, Jurian is the eyeball on Amarantha's
The bone and eye.
The bone and the eyeball that was always seeing and kept in like a tortured state.
At least for now. I don't remember if it's been mentioned yet in the books, but it's not a spoiler either way. Miriam is a half human, half Fey. She has a human mother and a high Fey father. And Drakon is from a species of Fey called the Seraphim, who have feathered wings.
You'd think that the sperm of a high Fey would just like blast through a human egg, right?
I mean, we saw what happened to Bella.
Yeah. Man, it'll just eat right through your stomach.
Yep.
Man, Twilight's so fucking weird.
Yeah, it is. So what I just mentioned, does that ring any bells to consumers of other SJM content? Interesting.
Ooh. Like Hunt Athalar?
I don't know.
I started reading Crescent City, by the way.
By the way, guys, Crescent City 3 release date has been announced.
Which is good for us because that means we're that much closer to another of the A Court of Thorns and Roses series. That's all I care about.
Yeah. I am very excited for the third Crescent City as well. It's coming out January 2024, bitches. Okay, anyway, we learn more about Miriam's changing. But in this moment, Amren mentions that Miriam was gifted a long life, but resides in the same body she was born in. Feyre's been entirely remade.
She sniffed again, and I'd never felt so laid bare. Surprise lit Amren's eyes. Rhys just nodded. Whatever that meant. I was tired already. Tired of being assessed and evaluated.
Your very blood, your veins, your bones were made. A mortal soul in an immortal body. I thought that was notable that something inside of Feyre surprised Amren. Whatever it is, Rhys does not elaborate. The scene continues as the food is served and we get a full glimpse of this group's dynamic. Rhys, lovingly vexed.
I can fix him.
Moore does not suffer fools gladly.
But I'd fix her as well.
Amren, dry and sardonic.
Can't fix Amren, she's too powerful.
Cassian, jovial and spirited.
I just want to jump his fucking bones.
Azrael, friendly and exasperated.
We can definitely also fix him.
Okay,
Loyally.
so that's 4 out of 5.
Yeah, we can.
Right.
I think that through sex, I could chill out Azrael. That's my personal viewpoint.
I believe you.
Suck the shadows
I believe your
right
loins
out
can
of
do
his
it.
body.
We're going to have to go over, at some point, we'll have to go over the bonus chapter that is about Azrael.
Yes.
If you guys haven't read the bonus chapter, two bonus chapters, one is about Feyre and Rhys, and one of them is about Azrael, alluding to future books. So we'll talk about those at some point. More importantly, this group's dynamic is friendly and intimate. Azrael, ever watching, notices Feyre's attention on he and Cassian's forearms, not for their pulsating muscle, but because they are both adorned with glowing gems, which we learn are called siphons. Cassian's red, Azrael's blue, as though they are kind of mood rings because those are indicative of their kind of personalities, I would say. Powerful Illyrian warriors use them to channel their considerable energy. I imagine like you would a lightning bolt into a DeLorean if you wanted to go back to the future.
Back to the future!
Again, that's all I can pull from my head.
Raised by television.
Feyre mistakenly calls Cassian Lord Cassian.
Which is cute.
It's very cute, which amuses the group to no end. Rhys goes on to explain that the only pure blood person in the room is Morrigan. Not even Rhys, because he is half Illyrian, which is often looked down upon as lesser Fey or disposable. It's basically a disposable class. But they are actually their own class, different from the lesser Fey. They are just Illyrian. Later, Cassian explains that Illyrians live in their own camps up in the northern mountains under grueling conditions. Azriel was a bastard of a lord within the Illyrian community, but was also born possessing the magical trait of shadow singing.
Shadow singer.
This made him reviled simply for being born. Cassian had it even worse as the son of a lowly laundress. He alludes to that his biological father might have assaulted his mother, but he never knew who he was. Like Rhys, Cassian has a special love and a tenderness for his mother, who he learned had been worked to death once he was old enough to go back and find her. Rhys also infers...
I guess we can fix him.
Yeah.
All right, we can fix him too.
Yeah. Rhys also infers that Illyrians are a bit misogynistic. Understatement of the year, as we'll learn. For now,
not these Illyrians, but
but the Illyrian. I don't think they're called a race. The Illyrian community,
class, right?
The class of Illyrian. For now, what we learn is that they clip the wings of their females once they get their bloods.
I don't. There's something about the phrase "getting their blood" that really yucks me out.
I mean, that was just what I said. I don't think that came from the book.
Oh, okay. I
was hoping to yuck you out.
Oh, you did. You definitely yucked me out. You know, at this point, the things that will yuck me out: getting their blood, and anytime you refer to a vulva in any way as your folds, I learned that from Ice Planet Barbarians, and whenever they say he put his finger between my folds,
ew.
And that really also yucks me out. And teats.
Teats?
Referring to your breasts as my teats.
That's typically like a reference to an animal.
Yeah. But like, don't suck my teats.
Ew.
Like if someone was like, well, how would you feel? My brother says seductively, give me your teats.
I all of this, my mind just shut down because that's gross, but you're saying it on top of it is way worse.
Me out, and that yucked you out even further.
I think
that was a double yuck out, bros. Right there. She's tapping out. I think she passed out. Oh, she's gone. She's out.
What happened?
Oh, she's back. Okay, she doesn't. Okay, no. Well, we're just doing talking.
Okay, great. So basically, when they get their periods, they can be used as breeding stock instead of like having freedom or flying around or enjoying their lives.
Good.
Rhys's mother was herself spirited and loved to fly, so she tried to starve herself to prevent her period from coming. Ugh. And that's
Yikes.
Relatable. Eventually, it did come though, and they did come at that point when her period came to clip her, and she fought. She fought, tooth and limb to get them away from her. And just as they were about to clip her wings, Rhys's father, who was the High Lord, winnowed into the camp. And when he saw Rhys's mother, their mating bond clicked into place.
They're mates.
Though their bond was deep, they were perhaps an example of mated by biology, but not psychology, where they didn't really have, they weren't really right for each other, but they were biologically correct. While she was permitted this special privilege of keeping her wings because she became the wife of the High Lord, Rhys's father refused to change the laws for the other women, even though his mother begged for it. Rhys's mother wanted Rhys to be Illyrian trained, even though she disagreed with their sort of doctrines and lifestyle. It was still her people. And since he had wings, whenever he wanted and since he had the wings that came and went whenever he wanted, she decided she wanted to send him to the training camp for Illyrian warriors, which starts at the age of 8 and is really brutal.
It starts at the age of 8, and then they put them in these horrible training camps. And I'm surprised sometimes that he has such an affection for his mother when you'd think that, I mean, if I was put into a fighting camp when I was 8, I'd probably hold some sort of anger about it. But I guess that is also where he was trained to be who he is.
Yes. And she lived at the camp, and he kind of goes on to explain that because he was going to be so sought after and hunted his whole life from being the High Lord's son and being so powerful, that she wanted him to be fully prepared for all of it, that it was done in love. And also she didn't want him to be seen as weak by the other Illyrians. So I think that is sort of an interesting development of that character, because he does have to do harsh and cruel things as the leader sometimes. And so this sort of helped him prepare for that.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is take your children to the forest and have them fight other little kids if you want them to be successful.
See if they can make it home. Just do like a battle royale, but just in your own like kids friend group.
Yeah.
Just let them figure it out.
Yeah, let them figure it out.
They'll get stronger. It doesn't kill you, makes you stronger.
Yeah, exactly.
Staying a little taller, you know?
So during this time is when Rhys and Cassian met as young boys. And Rhys was seen as the little sissy high-fae with his clean clothes. Rhys got the crap beaten out of him by Cassian because Cassian was a scrub in the camp. He was one of the ones who had nothing. And he had to fight for clothes and food and shelter even as a little boy. Ugh. So even though he had beaten up Rhys, later on that night, Rhys saw him trying to find shelter in the bitter cold, and he left his warm cabin that he lived in with his mother in the middle of the night and brought Cassian back into the house. His mom was pissed that he did this, but then she never made Cassian leave again. Oh. From then on, Cassian lived in the cabin with Rhys and his mom at the camp. A year later, Azriel arrived, and Rhys and Cassian teamed up to beat on him. But Rhys's mom knew Az's mom, and so she took him in too.
Oh, and then they were brothers.
As they grew, it became evident that the three of them contained great power within themselves. So much so that Cassian and Azriel were given their siphons, even though bastard-born Illyrians never had been gifted them before, because their power was too much.
Oh my God, they're so strong.
I
love the Bat Boys!
When it comes time for Rhys to be High Lord, he appointed Cass, Az, Mor, and Amren to be his consorts and challenged anyone who had a problem with it, and they could leave Valaris if they didn't like it. Many did, and now reside in the Hewn City. The Hewn City, a.k.a. the Court of Nightmares, is the actual inspiration for Amarantha's underground palace.
And that's what people think the Night Court is.
Yeah.
And so that's why everyone thinks they're all so bad and so shady.
Dark and
But they don't know about this whole other beautiful world.
Mm-hmm. And the Hewn City is located deep under the Moonstone Palace. So that's a fully functional underground city on the east coast of Prythian in the Night Court. And what court is this?
I asked, gesturing to them, the most important question. It was Cassian, eyes clear and bright as his siphon, who said,
The Court of Dreams. Mor, it turns out, was born in the Hewn City, was royalty, in fact. She calls herself a dreamer born into what they know as the Court of Nightmares. We'll learn more of her story soon.
Oh, God.
Feyre then goes on to explain her own past, the death of her mother, her father's lost fortune, her starvation, yada, yada, yada. Yeah, Cassian asks if she ever learned to fight during this time when she was hunting, which she says no to. He offers to teach her. She balks for a moment, and then...
I would not be weak again. I would not be dependent on anyone else. I would never have to endure the touch of the adder as it dragged me because I was too helpless to know where and how to hit. Never again. But what Ianthe and Tamlin had said.
You don't think it sends a bad message if people see me learning to fight, using weapons?
The moment the words were out, I realized the stupidity of them. The stupidity of what had been shoved down my throat these past few months.
In that moment, she realizes she's been kind of played. Congratulations, you played yourself.
Oh, yeah, but also it's not, she's in the middle of trying to process all these traumas, and then you have two, people that are in charge of your keeping that are like, you shouldn't fight. No, you can't be a high lady. No, you can't do these things. No, you're incapable. Of course it's going to weigh on you over time, and I feel sad that I feel like she's so, angry towards herself of not being strong enough to get through it. Girl, give yourself a little slack.
Yeah, no, for sure. In that moment, though, that is the full recognition of, holy shit, I let them tell me these things, and I believed them. And, you know, she's trying to justify the actions of a person she loved, and ain't we all done that? Mm-hmm. As she's working through these thoughts of realization, Mor steps in. She says, let me tell you two things as someone who has been perhaps in your shoes.
Again, that Amren, who was giving me a look dripping with distaste.
1, you have left the spring court. If that does not send a message for good or bad, then your training will not either. 2, I once lived in a place where the opinions of others mattered. It suffocated me, nearly broke me. So you'll understand, Feyre, when I say that I know what you feel and I know what they tried to do to you. And that with enough courage, you can say to hell with the reputation. You do what you love, what you need.
Thanks, Moore.
She's getting Yas Queened all over around. She considers this, that maybe Moore is more of a friend to her than any of these other bitches like Ianthe. So Feyre mulls it over and says, I'll think about it. That's what she's decided. And that's about the fight training. To Rhysand, she says that she will accept his offer to work with him, to fight with him against Hybern.
And amongst all of this inner circle, because they're so great.
And it becomes apparent that the others in the inner circle didn't know that they were auditioning for a new teammate through all of this. As soon as Feyre says that she will work with him, Rhys gets right down to business, though Feyre...
To defeat the Huns. It's a different kind of fight.
It is.
That's from Mulan. I don't know if you remember that one, but...
It's like the same, basically.
Yeah. It's the Osmonds.
Yeah. Rhys gets right down to business, though Feyre has the slightest hint down the bond that he's pleased at her choices through that connective tissue they share. According to
Is that what they're calling it these days?
Yeah, the connective tissue.
Yeah, the old connective tissue. Yeah, give me the teat.
No. According to old Rhys here, the king of Hybern wants to resurrect Jorian?
Sure.
Now I've heard everything.
Yeah.
Copyright Holden McNeil.
Thank you for giving him his due.
Feyre comes to realize that the adder disappeared after Amarantha's death, along with that ring in the bone. And that's a big ruh-roh.
That is a ruh-roh right there.
So Rhys has had some intuitive understanding that this was something the King of Hybern has wanted to do. He wants to resurrect Jorian to help, basically cause a catalyst for the apocalypse. Some intuitive high lord senses. Rhys has already picked up on this, and he contemplates on how, the king can figure out how to resurrect this man with just those little bits of trapping in his soul inside. It's one of the things that he needs Feyre for. Amren, the tiny ancient one, says in her dry way, just go into that hell prison and talk to that guy they call the Bone Carver.
The Bone Carver. It's the coolest name.
It is.
I would love to have the nickname the Bone Carver. Everyone is scared of the Bone Carver. How could you not be? His name is the Bone Carver.
It sounds like you trap men in your vagina.
Yeah, carve them to shreds. Or I could carve them into little, whittle them into little shapes.
Yeah.
Maybe a little elefante.
Oh,
elefante penis.
A little beluga.
That's what I call it. Yeah. Oh, a little beluga whale.
So maybe, that was Amren's suggestion. She's like, they're all trying to figure out how they can work through the king's plan on resuscitating this little piece of bone and eyeball into a human. And Amren's just like, yeah, the Bone Carver inside of that scary prison. So in true hero fashion, everyone in the inner circle is like, I'm going to go. No, I'll do it. No, you can't go. And then, everyone except Amren, she's like, nah.
No, I ain't doing it.
That's on you. I'm good. But Rhys says, nay, it is I who will go. And perchance, Feyre Archeron.
Oh, she's got to make her knuckles. What is it? Bite her teeth. Teeth herself in. Isn't that her phrase for that? Teeth in. She's got a teeth into the group. That's what I've settled on.
Wait, no, that is
make
your
teeth. Have teeth. Knuckle up.
Cut your
Cut your teeth. Thank you.
Ryan.
Thanks, Ryan. Cut your teeth.
Amren concurs. She says that the Bone Carver needs to be entertained, cajoled into giving up information. And he'd really only be excited by this newly made Fey female, Feyre. They all wait for Feyre to buckle under this pressure, But I mean, she's already slaughtered a bunch of monsters, so I don't know what they're worried about, really.
Remember when she went into Under the Mountain, didn't know anything about it, just was like, oh, this is the way in? Okay. Like, this is, she's going to do it.
Yeah, and she does. She says YOLO. At the start of chapter 17, Rhys is taking Feyre back down the mountain to the townhouse. So they're done with their dinner. They've had this meeting. She's agreed to work with them, and he's flying her back down to the townhouse where she was earlier. And she asks him why she was able to feel his emotions earlier when she felt the pleasing feeling that he had when she agreed. He says the bond that he created via the bargain is a living amorphous thing that he doesn't fully have control over, that the channel was created when he provided what she needed. She says that, well, what I needed was to not be dead. Rhys counters that she needed not to be alone.
Our eyes met. It was too dark to read whatever was in his gaze. I was the one who looked away first.
They have a silent commune there about how intense and difficult this war will be, what they will have to do to keep these people safe. Rhysand has already done so, of course. He was assaulted for 50 years while using the last remnants of his power to erase the memories of anyone who knew his inner circle, to keep them safe, protect them from Amarantha. That night, Feyre is in the throes of a terrible nightmare, one in which Amarantha has her prone and nude on the floor. "You're as much a monster as me," she says in the dream. She glides a knife over Feyre's chest, prepares to carve her up when Feyre! She's jolted awake, shaken by Rhysand.
The voice was at once the night and the dawn and the stars and the earth, and every inch of my body calmed at the primal dominance in it.
Woo!
The moonlight trickling through the windows illuminated the dark lines of swirling tattoos down his arm, his shoulders, across his sculpted chest, like the ones I bore on my arm. He scanned my face.
"A dream," he said again. So Feyre is sweaty and it's, covered in sweat. She's tussled. It's clear she's been screaming. In her terror, she's evoked fire from her hands and she's sent her bedclothes.
She's got so much power inside of her.
And she can't control it yet. Just like so many nights at the spring court, her nightmares end with her running to the bathroom sick and nauseated. She runs this time to the bathroom and toilet and hurls her guts up. Only this time,
large, warm hands pulled my hair back a moment later.
Rhysand has come to comfort her. He gently guides her.
You mean in the way that Tamlin never fucking did? He never fucking did it.
He didn't. I'm just saying. He never did it. It seems like a very simple thing you could do to comfort somebody, but
Rhys knows that it's hard and he wants to show that he's there for her.
So as he pulls her hair back and he gently guides her in words, helping her to stop the flames still coming from her fingertips at this point because she doesn't know how to do it. And he continues to explain that he often has nightmares as well, that they share this terrible affliction, this guilt. He strokes her back as she continues to be sick, and eventually she passes out on the toilet. Not on the toilet. She passes out throwing up.
I've been close to doing that before. Just and people think that I've Elvised, and I'm like, I'm not. I'm alive.
I'm just napping. I can relate to
take a nap.
I definitely can relate to passing out
on
with
the
my
floor,
face on
yes.
in the toilet.
Oh yeah.
There's never been a hunky fairy there helping me. Feyre wakes up under clean sheets in her bed with no memory of how she returned there. The next day, after Rhys drafts a letter requesting audience with the summer court for some yet unknown reason, Rhys and Feyre winnow away to the intimidating gray mountain that contains the prison of the Night Court. Rhys is dressed in Illyrian fighting leathers, and Feyre, for some reason, keeps noting the muscles rippling underneath her. I don't know. Maybe she really likes anatomy and wants to be a doctor?
Yeah, it must be that. Like, I think that she's just really impressed by his fortitude.
Wants to know what his workout regimen is.
Wants to ask about gains and not gains and minuses.
Lunkhead?
Yeah, being a lunkhead.
Rhys explains that they are standing on the Western Isles on a little chunk of land off of Prythian. This is where the baddies are stored. Feyre has not realized until this moment that the prison is underground. Under a mountain! She begins to panic. Rhys reveals that Amren was once a prisoner in that mountain, but she looked a bit different in that prison than from the little Spitfire we see today. We
Probably
don't know.
the fashion was different, I'm sure.
Well, she was in a different body. We don't know what that body was. It doesn't distract Feyre enough, though, and she begins to have a full-on panic attack. She realizes that the idea of going under a mountain is shutting her body down. It won't allow her to move forward. She pleads with Rhys to go back, and he does so without complaint. Feyre feels depressed from this failure. However, she's awoken by Amren later with an offering. She hands Feyre an amulet, one that she says holds great power, one that allowed she herself to escape the prison back when she was trapped there.
Aww.
She warns Feyre that she must keep extreme care over it, that it will not be good if she loses it, like a threat. But Amren says that if Feyre keeps this amulet with her, she will be safe inside the prison. So then Rhys takes her back to the prison the following day, and whenever Feyre has this amulet on that she's wearing like a necklace, he looks displeased at it, but doesn't say much more. As they traverse the pathway towards the prison, they discuss Azriel. She asks what happened to his hands. Rhys somberly explains that Azriel's father had 2 legitimate sons, like revered, wanted sons with the wife. And their mother, his father's wife, punished Azriel for his father's outside the marriage dalliance.
It's not his fault.
No, but you see that happening, you know? That's something that does happen in real life. So his stepmother was cruel and mean to him and encouraged her sons to do the same to him. She actually kept him locked in a cell in the dark for 23 hours a day for 11 years, which is a lot. He was only allowed to see his birth mother an hour at a time, once a week, I think. He was banned from training, from learning to fly. And when he was 8, his half-brothers tortured him, but sounds like deep frying his arms.
It's horrible.
It was so extreme, his skin never fully healed from it, even as a fae.
Now he's swathed in shadows.
He
and
is.
We have to help him.
Don't we, though? Rhys then goes on to explain that Mor is his court's liaison between Valaris and the hewn city and is a queen of sorts over both. Amren, he says, is something of a political advisor and ally, and a sort of Hail Mary, Hail Mother, as they say, that if the kingdom has fallen and then Rhys needs a final, like a last resort, he's going to unleash her from her fae form into her true form and set her upon the enemy. God's help us all.
Oh my God. So she's just she's got this other form that lives inside of her that is going to be, that's her Hail Mary.
That's the Hail Mary. If everyone else has died, if Cass and Azriel and Morgan have all died in battle, that's their last resort. So this is basically him explaining the dynamics of his inner circle to her as they're traveling through to this prison. Finally, they get to the prison. Feyre successfully enters the mountain and they traverse along a pitch black walkway in eerie silence. Down and down they travel deeper into the core of the mountain. Every so often she senses a presence behind those rock walls. Little else. Rhys explains the prison is its own beast, that no lord sees over it, and that Amren was there for several millennia at best guess. The prison is a mysterious, nebulous creature that is not fully controlled by any one being. When Feyre asks Rhys where Amren came from originally, he says, "I don't know. Though there are legends that claim when the world was born, there were rips in the fabric of the realms, that in the chaos of forming, creatures from other worlds could walk through one of those rips and enter another world. But the rips close at will and the creatures could become trapped with no way home."
Ooh, spooky.
Again, this is potentially a reference to the Massiverse if you read her other books.
I like calling it the Massiverse.
As they travel farther and further down into the belly of this mountain. They approach the bone carver's cell, buried in the deepest levels of the mountain. Rhys warns that the bone carver appears differently to each person who views him. Feyre is terrified but doesn't show it. She won't pull back.
Rhysand at last released my hand, only to lay his once more on the bare stone. It rippled beneath his palm, forming a door. Like the gates above, it was of ivory, bone, and in its surface were etched countless images, flora and fauna, seas and clouds, stars and moons, infants and skeletons, creatures fair and foul. It swung away. The cell was pitch black, hardly distinguishable from the hall.
I have carved the doors for every prisoner in this place,
said a small voice within.
But my own remains my favorite. I'd have to agree,
Rhysand said. He stepped inside, the light bobbing ahead to illuminate a dark-haired boy sitting against the far wall, eyes of crushing blue, taking in Rhysand, then sliding to where I lurked in the doorway.
Without Feyre realizing it, Rhys has brought something of an offering to the bone carver. The calf bone that made the final kill when Feyre slew the Middengard worm.
Rhys said.
Oh my God, he kept the bone.
That's cute!
It's just like when Luke Danes kept the horoscope that Lorelai gave him on the first day that they met.
I get it. I still have my train ticket the first time I took the train out to go see Jeff out where he lived, and I kept that train ticket.
You have something to give the bone carver, I guess. I guess maybe he'd rather have bones.
Oh, I got bones.
You know what? And yeah, Jeff also has bones.
Yeah,
so
he's a big bone man.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wink. So yes, we've learned in this moment, Rhys had kept the bone that Feyre killed the Midgard worm
that means
with.
he had to go down into the poop. He had to go into the poop to get it.
That's how much he was really impressed by her kill.
That's really sweet.
That does impress him much.
Yes.
So, yeah, and it works. So basically he brings this offering because it seems like the bone carver likes sort of macabre, curious things, and that's how you can get information from him. This creepy little boy that at least Feyre sees the bone carver as welcomes them into his carved cell. The bone carver wants to know where Feyre went when she died. A question many of us ponder in the real world.
Yeah.
She agrees to tell him in exchange for a question of her own.
She's learning.
Yes.
The world of the Fae. You got to have bargains.
Always a bargain. She says that she remembers her neck breaking and that she was floating away, but for a tether, a line keeping her near like a string on a kite. She pulled on that line and ended up seeing through Rhys's eyes that beyond the bond, there was only darkness. And then she was swimming back to herself, like trying to reach the surface of a sea. And that was because she decided she didn't want to die that moment. She wanted to come back. She asked in return for answering this question if there is any way to bring a person back to life to resurrect them if their soul is contained.
Like an eye of sorts.
Or a bone.
Yeah.
He at first says there is no way. But unless. He goes on to say that before there was High Fae, there was a cauldron. Perhaps we've talked about this cauldron before.
Hail Cauldron. Should we be saying Hail Cauldron?
Yeah, I love that. Let's do it. So he says that all the magic was contained inside it and that the world was born inside it. But then it fell into the wrong hands where great and horrible things happened. That things were created inside, and they were wicked, and the cauldron was stolen back at great cost. It couldn't be destroyed because it had been made to create all things, sort of like the god cauldron. And if it were broken, then it would be sort of the apocalypse. So it was hidden, and people tried to move on and forget about it. Only with that cauldron could something that is dead be reforged.
So they gotta get that cauldron.
So the cauldron is a physical thing. It's not just a concept.
The idea of God, yeah.
So we see the little cauldron pouring out in the corners of the maps in the front of the book. And then they're asking him, well, where could the cauldron be? And he says, well, it was for a time hidden at the bottom of a frozen lake in Lapland. But then in order to try to keep people from using it for bad, the cauldron was cleaved from its 3 legs and that they were all hidden and separated far apart from another.
So there's 3 parts of the cauldron that you have to get to put the cauldron together.
And they were hidden in 3 different temples. And so if they've gone missing, it's likely the cauldron is active once again. And if we remember back, we heard that some of the high priestesses' temples were ransacked and they were all killed.
Yes.
Which is maybe connected. I don't know. So in order to activate that big old cauldron, they have to get all the feet also. And it seems like maybe somebody's been chasing it around. Before they leave, Feyre decides to give one more morsel of information to the bone boy. She tells him there was actually, in fact, a choice in death, that there was some force or greater power offering her a choice. And if she had chosen death, maybe it would have been another world and that place was somewhere good. And I think she's telling them, this bone carver, because the bone carver wants to know if he dies, where is he going to go? And she says that maybe there is another place.
Man, he's just sitting there alone in that cave, just being like, where do I go when I die?
He loves carving, though.
Yeah, so you think he's just, I guess, he's just carving all the doors.
Yeah.
It's nice to have a hobby.
It is, In exchange for this information, he also gives her a little chunk. The king of Highburn, in fact, has the cauldron.
No! Jurian, no!
Uh-oh.
This is not good news.
So Feyre offers one more piece of her heart.
Look at them. They really, connect.
They bonded. They trauma bonded. Even.
Yeah.
That she would have put the knife in her own chest if the third fairy hadn't been Tamlin. That she couldn't have lived with herself until then her neck snapped and she died and realized that she wasn't finished with some grand design and needed to stay.
So you're going to go through all of that. You're going to kill yourself and not free all of the people you just worked really hard to do. I mean, I understand where she's coming from, where she's going through a lot of things right now.
Well, she does actually say she would have killed the third fairy to release them, kill herself.
And then kill herself.
I did not make that clear. After this, the bone carver offers his last bits. The cauldron is capable of shattering the wall, and that there is something called a book of breathings that was also crafted from the same ore that the cauldron is, containing the only way to counter the cauldron's terrible power. After the war, the book was cleaved in half, and one half was given to the human queens, while the other is possessed by the summer court, which is probably why Rhys wanted to talk to them, because he knows so many things.
I know. He's so smart.
And it's really only kept for superstitious reasons that the book doesn't respond to fae or humans. So it's really just kept as like a tradition. But perhaps the one who is both human and fae, or one who is neither human nor fae, could summon its powers.
Mortal soul, immortal body.
Well, Feyre shook. But the little bone boy seems delighted with their conversation. I shall carve your death in here, Feyre.
Up and up into the darkness we walked, through the sleeping stone and the monsters who dwelled within it. At last I said to Rhys,
what did you see? You first. A boy, around 8, dark-haired and blue-eyed.
Rhys shuddered, the most human gesture I'd seen him make.
What did you see?
I pushed.
Jorian,
Rhys said.
He appeared exactly as Jorian looked the last time I saw him, facing Amarantha when they fought to the death.
Dang, you bone carver. I think it's cool that the bone carver just appears as whatever they want, that he wants to appear to each person.
It doesn't it doesn't fully say it's something that you want to see or don't want to see. It's just attaching to some form of your psyche, and you're seeing something of reference that you don't even understand.
Yeah, dudes.
So now we got all kinds of missions coming up. We got to prevent this war.
We got to get that cauldron.
We got to go find the book. Got to get both parts. You got to figure out if the book's going to work, if they put the books together.
These books are just so well written. Like this, you did such a great job with this chunk, Nat. Because
thanks.
this is so much where you're just like, you can feel the books just going like, choo-choo-choo, as you're like ramping up into what this book is going to be, which is an awesome action-packed fuck book. And I love these books.
Yeah, it's going to ramp up in both directions next episode.
Yeah. But I'm so glad the Bat Boys are in our lives now because, I
missed them.
I know. I hated not talking about them.
But now they'll never leave us.
I know. They'll be with us forever.
Okay. That was a lot for today.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Thank you guys for joining, and I hope that you find both sides of your book of breathings and that they come together and they help you kill your enemies.
Mm-hmm. And maybe, hopefully, someday you will meet the bone carver, and then they'll say, "I'll carve your death in here." And wouldn't that be really nice?
Pretty cool.
Thanks, bone carver.
Bye.
Bye.